All right, Coach Burt, Saturday morning. A little humid here in Tennessee, folks. A little humid. But Labor Day weekend. And my mind does its best work when it's allowed to get out and play. No coaching, no schedule, nowhere to be, just to be. And I think that's an important thing we need to be thinking about from time to time. How do we just, we're such human doings, which I am, but how do we become human beings every now and then? Because that's when the good ideas come out. So I want to break down for you. I've been studying a lot of Pritchett. What I do is I take people's work, I deconstruct that work, I think about it, and then I'm very practical. Like when he wrote U Squared. If you haven't read, that's a little handbook. Pritchett is a psychologist out of Dallas, Texas. Started in the military, went to the Pentagon, left the Pentagon, got into executive recruiting, got his PhD in psychology, figured out that there was a seat at the bigger table through mergers and acquisitions. A lot of conflict in mergers and acquisitions. Study human nature, study human behavior, break that human behavior down, and bring a coaching element to it or consulting element to it. So he wrote a little book called U Squared, which is about quantum thinking. And then he followed that book up with the quantum leap strategy. And then books around optimism, hard optimism, U Squared, Lucky You, 16 times principle. The gist of these books is that instead of trying harder, we should try differently. And he weaves in this psychology. So I started writing down today, okay, how does one experience a quantum leap? Because I'm talking about it to my students. How does one actually experience, what are the practical steps to experience a quantum leap? Number one, I do think thinking about things differently, trying differently versus trying harder is the first big step. If you're a grinder like me, rugged individualist, got to where you are because you're rugged, you're tough, you show up every day, you grind it out. It's hard as hell. First step is opening the mind to a different way. Like I'm involved in a publicly traded company now on the board of directors. And people that make investments in those companies, if that works and the technology works and the patents work and they solve a problem, investing is a quantum leap. Imagine putting something in and doing no work. That's why so many people try to move you toward the investor quadrant versus the worker quadrant, the employee quadrant, even the small business quadrant. Running a small business is hard. It's hard as hell to run a small business. So investing opens the door to a quantum leap. Think different. How could I get from A to B? Instead of trying harder, how do I try different? And what does trying differently mean? Right? I'm doing some venture coaching deals where I bring in my expertise and networks, 30 years of experience. And these businesses are growing at a very rapid rate. And I experience a percentage of the growth of the company. If I could take a company from zero pre-revenue to $1 million and I experience, let's just say 22.5 to 30% of the increase, it's still $300,000. It's trying differently. So first step of a quantum leap is to be open to quantum leaps versus gradual increases, in my opinion. Number one, I gotta go looking for a quantum leap. I gotta start being intentional about this. It doesn't just magically happen. It happens because I'm going to look for it. I'm going to engage with it. And so when I think about the quantum leap, I think about, okay, when I experience a quantum leap, it's because I got new information, number one. So let's call that exposure. I write about that in my book, Flip the Switch. It's an activator prey drive. It is actually, I believe, one of the first activators of prey drive. I hear a new strategy. I see something new. Opens the mind. Opens a prey drive. And two is through people. The second way I experience a quantum leap is somebody opens a door for me. So number one is somebody says something to me. I'm investing the money to put myself in the room with a coach, with a strategist, with a person that's done something big. And number two, a person opens a door for me, a new relationship, which is why I say you don't need more money, you need more people. Okay, so experience a quantum leap, I got to try different versus try harder. I got to be open to significant jumps that are easier versus harder. It's gonna be hard for some of you guys. And then I gotta place myself in a room with people who know better, who've done it. That's exposure. And I gotta circulate, which increases my probability that people are gonna see me and want to do something with me. And improves my luck too. And Pritchett wrote about this in a book called Lucky You. Then the only other thing I need is something I'm doing a webinar on Sunday night. I need the boldness to pursue it. The hard optimism that it's gonna work out versus the pessimism. Okay, I need the boldness to go from mental creation into a physical action. And I write about that in A to B. I write about it in Flip the Switch. I'm probably going to do a book at some point on remarkable boldness, because that, my friends, is the missing component for so many people. And that is how you experience a quantum leap. I'm Coach Burt. It's Saturday. Everybody needs a coach, man. Get in a room with me at my Activate conference, September 26th to the 28th. It's coming up this month. It's going to be some of the best people in the world. You'll get the exposure, you'll get the strategy, and you're definitely going to walk away thinking way bigger. There's a psychology of expansion that you're going to experience when you spend time with me. It's all I've ever studied. It's what the good Lord has gifted me with. So it's going to happen to you in your life when you get in the room with me and all my friends. Let's go.